right, pretty exciting. We're finishing up Genesis. Then Sarah and I got to fly to Florida because Grandpa is having his service. So when I get back, we will read Exodus. So 49 and 50 of Genesis, Jacob's last words to his sons. Oh, okay. And Jacob called his sons and said, "Gather together that I may tell you what shall befall you in the last days. Gather together and hear, you sons of Jacob, and listen to Israel your father. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power. Unstable as water, you shall not excel. Because you went up to your father's bed, then you defiled it. He went up to my couch. Simeon and Levi are brothers. Instruments of cruelty are in their dwelling place. Let not my soul enter their council. Let not my honor be united to their assembly. For in their anger they slew a man, and in their self-will they hamstrung an ox. Cursed be their anger, for it is fierce, and their wrath, for it is cruel. I will divide them in Jacob and scatter them in Israel. Judah, you are he whom your brothers shall praise. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. Your father's children shall bow down before you. Judah is a lion's whelp. From the prey, my son, you have gone up. He bows down, he lies down as a lion, and as a lion who shall as a lion who shall rouse him. The scepter shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him shall be the obedience of the people, binding his donkey to the vine, and his donkey's colt to the choice vine. He washed his garments in wine, and his clothes in the blood of grapes. His eyes are darker than wine, and his teeth are whiter than milk. So let's quickly look up what scepter. The scepter shall not part Judah. So we know now that even Israel had these sons, Oh, let's see. Is a staff or wand held in the hand by a ruling monarch as an item of rule or imperial signet. A rod or wand borne in the hand of as an emblem of imperial power. So here is this man of God, and he has all of these children, but he knows what they have done, and he knows what their faults are. And he's telling them, because of what you have done, this is what your future is. And this is important because, like, let's just say that somebody is sexually promiscuous, and they get a disease, and they are just, they get a disease that they can't get rid of, not one that they're blessed enough that there's a cure. Unfortunately, they get one that there is no cure. Well, and then they have to deal with this the rest of their life until they die, right? Why? Because we already knew our future when we chose to sin. Just like he's saying, this is your future because of your sin, right? Because of their anger, because of their wrath, this was going to be their future. And he didn't even want anything to do with this anger or wrath, because it was so sinful. So when we have to face tribulation on this planet, nor it's because we are paying for our sin. Or we might be paying for the sin of others. But what is the way to wash away sin? Righteousness. Righteousness. And the only person who can wash your sins away is Jesus. Through Jesus. God has made that clear in the New Testament. Through Jesus. So we have to be righteous, as good as we can be, right? We have to deal with whatever sin we've done. We have to deal with our punishment, our suffering, what we did was not a sacrifice. What we did was sin. And so we would much rather pay for that sin on earth than we would in hell, right? So you see a lot of suffering in this world, but you see a lot of good and a lot of people that come up to help, and you see you do see righteous people who really do wake up every day with a good heart, who aren't easily angered, who are very understanding and kind and loving, who believe in Jesus, who believe in God, and who really truly want to help people. And then you have the righteous people who stand up for those who are being abused, right? They have this courage given to them by God. We all have a different purpose from God. Remember, he said that. Every one of us are different, and every one of us according to our ability, right? So we have to try to hear God, what he wants us to do. Okay, anyways. Issachar is a strong donkey lying down between two burdens. He saw the rest was good, and he saw the land was pleasant. He bowed his shoulder to bear a burden and became a band of slaves. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, a viper by the path, that bites the horse's heel so that its rider shall fall backwards. I have waited on your salvation, O Lord. Gad, a troop shall tramp upon him, but he shall triumph at last. Bread from Asher shall be rich, and he shall yield royal dainties. Naphtali, let's look up dainties. It's royal dainties. He'll be rich, right? The choicest, yeah, he will be rich. Like royalty, huh? Okay. Joseph is a fruitful bow, like a branch or a bow. A fruitful bow by a well. His branches run over the wall. The archers have bitterly grieved him, shot at him and hated him. But his bow remained in strength, and the arms of his hands were made strong by the mighty God of Jacob. From there is the shepherd, the stone of Israel. Who is the shepherd? Jesus. Who is the stone? Jesus. By the God of your father who will help you, and by the Almighty who will bless you, with blessings of heaven above, blessings of the deep that lies beneath, blessings of the breast and of the womb. The blessings of your father have excelled the blessings of my ancestors, up to the utmost bound of the everlasting hills. They shall be on the head of Joseph, and on the crown of the head of him who separate from his brothers. So Joseph is the fruitful bow, but we know about Joseph. What happened to Joseph? His brothers sold him, and he went through all this hard time, but he always focused on God, right? He stayed focused on God. He was righteous. He had the righteous heart. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf. In the morning he shall devour the prey, and at night he shall divide the spoil. All these are the 12 tribes of Israel, and that is what their father spoke to them. And he blessed them, he blessed each one according to his own blessing. Then he charged them and said to them, I am to be gathered to my people. Bury me with my fathers in the cave that is in the field of Ephron the Hittite, in the cave that is in the field of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the land of Canaan, which Abraham bought with the field of Ephron the Hittite as a possession for a burial place. There they buried Abraham and Sarah his wife. There they buried Isaac and Rebekah his wife, and there I buried Leah. The field and the cave that is there were purchased from the sons of Heth. And when Jacob had finished commanding his sons, he drew his feet up into his bed and breathed his last and was gathered to his people. So God allowed him to bless each one of his sons according to his own blessing, right? He blessed them each according to their, to who they were. Then Joseph fell on his father's face and wept over him and kissed him. And Joseph commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, so the physicians embalmed Israel. 40 days were required for him, for such are the days required for those who are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 70 days. Now when the days of his mourning were past, Joseph spoke to the household of Pharaoh, saying, If now I have found favor in your eyes, please speak in the hearing of Pharaoh, saying, My father made me swear, saying, Behold, I am dying in my grave, which I dug for myself in the land of Canaan. There you shall bury me. Now therefore, please let me go up and bury my father, and I will come back. So he asked Pharaoh, I said this to my father, and Pharaoh said, Go up and bury your father, as he made you swear. So Joseph went up to bury his father, and with him went up all the servants of Pharaoh, the elders of his house, and all the elders of the land of Egypt, as well as all the house of Joseph, his brothers, and his father's house. Only their little ones, their flocks, and their herds they left in the land of Goshen. And there went up with him both chariots and horsemen, and it was a very great gathering. So this was them showing their respect to this wonderful man, and they knew he was a man of God. They knew where all these blessings that had been showered upon them, because just as Joseph was a man of God, and God blessed him for his righteousness and for his love for God. Now, he knew that he sinned. They all sinned. And it doesn't say every little tiny thing they did. It just talks about certain things, right? That's why they call this first 3 books the books of law. Because God is telling you, showing you, expressing to you. And there's a lot more in here than what I'm saying. That's why I say it's good to, if you're into history and if you're into people who have researched all these places and other people who have their own better, knowledge from God. He's opened their eyes more than me and their ears more than me, and possibly yourself. I was telling you guys, y'all are probably going to be like, Mom, you're missing a big part. Good. I'm glad that you see it. Then they came to the threshing floor of Atad, which is beyond the Jordan, and they mourned there with a great and very solemn lamentation. He observed 7 days of mourning for his father. And when the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites, saw the mourning at the threshing floor of Atad, they said, This is a deep mourning of the Egyptians. Therefore, the name was called Abel Mizraim, which is beyond the Jordan. So, don't forget that these numbers, you remember he mourned 7 days. It took, they all mourned 70 days. There's a lot with the number 7 and with the number 1 and with the number 2 and the number 3. There's a lot of different things in the Bible, but you find 7 quite often, huh? Like, it may sound so silly, but I am so glad I was born on the 17th. I would have loved to have been born on 7/07, something like 1977. Okay, anyways. But I get a little 7 in there. Okay, so his sons did for him just as he commanded them. For his sons carried him to the land of Canaan and buried him in the cave of the field of Machpelah before Mamre, which Abraham bought with the field from Ephron the Hittite as property for a burial place. And after he had buried his father, Joseph returned to Egypt, he and his brothers and all who went up with him to bury his father. When Joseph's brothers saw their father was dead, they said, "Perhaps Joseph will hate us and may actually repay us all the evil we did to him." So they sent messengers to Joseph, saying, "Before your father died, he commanded, saying, 'Thus you shall say to Joseph, I beg you, please forgive the trespasses of your brothers and their sin, for they did evil to you. Now please forgive the trespass of the servants of the God of your father.'" And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. Then his brothers also went and fell down before his face, and they said, "Behold, we are your servants." Remember that dream he had? Joseph said to them, "Do not be afraid, for am I in the place of God? But as for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, in order to bring it about as it is this day, to save many people alive. Now therefore do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your little ones." And he comforted them and spoke kindly to them. So Joseph dwelt in Egypt, he and his father's household, and Joseph lived 110 years. Joseph saw Ephraim's children to the third generation. To the children of Machir, the son of Manasseh, were also brought up on Joseph's knees. And Joseph said to his brethren, "I am dying, but God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land to the land of which he swore to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob." Then Joseph took an oath from the children of Israel, saying, "God will surely visit you, and you shall carry up my bones from here." So Joseph died, being 110 years old, and they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. Whew. God bless them. God bless us all of our past, that we can see our past. We hear God when he speaks to us. We have the courage to follow our past. We're forgiving and kind. We try to put all of the sin of others behind us, and we don't carry it with us. And we focus on Jesus. Amen.